If you will study your lesson, then you will surely pass. Good day everyone! Welcome to my learning channel, Sir Fax Learning Channel. Today, we will learn mathematics for grade 8 with Ma'am Arlene. Pag-aaralan po natin ngayon ang conditional statement or if and then statement. Happy learning everyone! Tara, samahan niyo po akong aralin ang konseptong ito.
Good day, grade 8 learners. Today we're going to discuss in Mathematics Quarter 2 in Week 5 the conditional statements, if-then statements. Our learning competency for this topic determines the relationship between the hypothesis and conclusion of an if-then statement. Conditional statement is a statement with a hypothesis followed by a conclusion. The part following if is the hypothesis, and the part following then is the conclusion. Hypothesis is an assumption to an argument, and conclusion is the summing up of the argument or a reasoned judgment. Let's have an example of a conditional statement. If you will study your lesson, then surely you will pass. The hypothesis is you will study your lesson. Conclusion, surely you will pass. As you can see, you will study your lesson is after the word if. And the conclusion, surely you will pass, is after the word then. Remember that the hypothesis is denoted by P and the conclusion is denoted by Q. That's why, if P, then Q. P, or this simple, is read as P implies Q. In the conditional statement, you have to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. But there are instances that you may omit or remove the word then, but still you can identify the conclusion. So example, if 2x equals 12, then x equals 6. You may write it as if 2x equals 12, x equals 6. Notice that in our conditional statement here, it is written without the word then. Okay. The hypothesis here is 2x equals 12 and the conclusion is x equals 6. Conditional statement is also called if-then statement. It has a truth value of true or false. So to be true, the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is also true. Which means, to make the statement true, the hypothesis or the if part, if statement, and the conclusion, the then part, the then statement are both true. To be false, you need to have a counterexample where hypothesis is true, tama yung hypothesis or yung if part natin, but the conclusion or the then statement is false. Let's have some examples of this. If x equals 3, then x squared equals 9. The hypothesis of this statement is x equals 3 and its conclusion is x squared equals 9. Since x equals 3, then square of 3 is equal to 9, wherein 3 times 3 equals 9. So by this, this statement is true. For number 2, if x squared equals 64, then x equals 8. The hypothesis of this is x squared equals 64. Conclusion is x equals 8. This statement is false. Why? Because in your hypothesis, the x squared is 64. Where your conclusion, when x is 8 or positive 8 and multiply it by itself, that is 64. But you can also have negative 8 The x can also be equal to negative 8 since square of negative 8 or negative 8 times negative 8 is also equal to 64. Another example, let's have number 3. If a triangle has 3 congruent sides, then it is an equilateral triangle. Hypothesis, a triangle has 3 congruent sides. The conclusion, it is an equilateral triangle. So by definition, an equilateral triangle is a triangle with 3 congruent sides. These statements satisfy the definition of an equilateral triangle. So therefore, this statement is conditional statement. That's if a triangle has 3 congruent sides, when we say congruent, equal sides, then it is an equilateral triangle. Therefore, this statement is true. Let's have last example. If a figure has 4 equal sides, then it is a square. Hypothesis, a figure has 4 equal sides, and the conclusion, it is a square. So what do you think? If a figure has 4 equal sides, is it really a square? No, it's false. Why? Because by definition, rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides also. So it doesn't claim that only square has 4 equal sides. You can also write simple statement into conditional statements. So let's have some examples of this. First one, a rectangle has 2 pairs of parallel sides. To make it a conditional statement, so here it is. If the figure is a rectangle, then it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. As you can see, in this simple statement, to make it conditional, you inserted or you put or add a phrase if the figure. Since it is a rectangle, so a rectangle is a figure. So then it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So you inserted it, then it as to refer to a rectangle or to a figure. Its hypothesis is the figure is a rectangle, and the conclusion, it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, for number 2, let's have number 2. The number is prime. It has 2 factors. To make it conditional statement, if the number is prime, then it has 2 factors. Look, in the simple statement, the number is prime. The first phrase, you just add if to make it as if statement or a hypothesis. Then it has 2 factors. It has 2 factors. So you just put then to this phrase. So the hypothesis is the number is prime, and the conclusion is it has 2 factors. Number 3, okay, for this last example, 1/2 of a number is 12. The number is 24. So what is its conditional statement? That is, if 1/2 of a number is 12, then the number is 24. You just add if for this statement, for the if statement, and then for this part, the number is 24. Its hypothesis is 1/2 of a number is 12. As you can see here, you're going to look at the conditional statement, and its conclusion, the number is 24. You don't put or write the word then. Venn diagram can be used to illustrate conditional statement. Things that satisfy the hypothesis must be inside the things that satisfy the conclusion. So, we can also use this Venn diagram, which you learned from the previous year or younger year, that a Venn diagram is used to show the relationship of sets. But in this statement or conditional statement, we can also use Venn diagram. So, you learned already that in Venn diagram, we use circles to show 2 sets. So, here we go. So, for the statements or conditional statements, we're going to use hypothesis, which must be inside the conclusion, the bigger circle. Okay, let's have examples for this. Show this statement using Venn diagram. Let's illustrate. If a number is an integer, then it's a real number. So, showing its Venn diagram, we have here the smaller one, integers, is the hypothesis. As you can see, it is in the if statement. And the real numbers are inside the bigger part or bigger circle, which is our conclusion, which is the then part or the then statement. Where integers are subsets of real numbers. So, lahat ng integers, real numbers yan. Okay, next example. If you are a Filipino, then you are an Asian. So, let's show our Venn diagram. Here we go. The Filipino, which is in the small circle, which is the hypothesis, is inside the conclusion, which is the Asian. Because we know Filipino resides in the Philippines, where Philippines is one of the Asian countries. That's why it's Filipino is under Asian or inside Asian. You can write the conditional statement for the Venn diagram. So, showing you a Venn diagram, and then you're going to create from it a conditional statement. So, let's say, for example, we have here a diagram that shows a Rizal is a hypothesis which is inside the conclusion, which is a Calabarzon. Now, if you are going to write its conditional statement, we have, if you reside in Rizal, then you are from Calabarzon. So, since Rizal is one of the provinces that belongs to Calabarzon or Region 4A, so we have here CA, which is Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, at Quezon. R pertains to Rizal. That's why it is inside the conclusion, Calabarzon. Okay, let's have another one. A diagram which shows eggplant inside the smaller one, and the bigger part is the vegetables. So, what can we write, or how can we write a conditional statement here? Or what is conditional statement can we write in this diagram? So, we can have, if you eat eggplant, then you eat vegetables. So, showing that you can, that one of the vegetables is an eggplant, wherein if you eat eggplant, then you eat vegetables. So, you learned already for today the conditional statement. So, let us just remember the following. That conditional statement has two parts. The if, which is the hypothesis, and the then, which is the conclusion. That's why it is called if-then statement. In the conditional statement, you have to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion where P implies Q, which means that if P, then Q. Lastly, to illustrate the conditional statement, you can use a Venn diagram. So, don't forget that hypothesis must be inside the conclusion, or the hypothesis is the smaller circle which is inside the bigger circle, which is the conclusion. That's all for today. Thank you and happy learning. This is your teacher in grade 8 mathematics, Ma'am Arlene A. Smil. Thank you.
Isa na namang napakahalagang konsepto ang ating napag-aralan sa araw na ito. Hopefully nakatulong po ito sa ating mga distance learners, grade 8 distance learners who are taking Mathematics 8. At kung bago ka sa channel na ito, huwag mo pong kalimutang mag-subscribe at i-hit ang notification bell all. And please support my channel by clicking the join button. Marami pong salamat. Happy learning, everyone.